I don't know. I think the Dolphins were wise in understanding my relationships around the league and knowing that I have information that they don't have or can't get. And I think they were smart in taking advantage of that, whether it was through me or through somebody else. The Cowboys have never elected to do that, at least with me. You know, maybe they have with others, but no, I don't feel there's a conflict. But I will say I'm pulling for the Dolphins, and I know that because now I have something at stake, and I think they hired two really talented, wonderful people, and I think that's going to prove itself out. Now, 26 is going to be a tough season because of the cap that took a big hit when they let Tua go, but. Time will tell, but yeah, I'm pulling for him. I want to see him do well because I feel like my fingerprints are on it as well.
Troy Aikman has talked a couple of times on podcasts about his role with the Dolphins and how he's been involved. Have you consulted with him since being hired, and how do you envision his role during the season with the team?
Yeah, I think right now Troy's been a good sounding board, and he's a guy that I've talked to a few times. We've had some really good conversations, and I'll continue to do that.
Troy Aikman and Jeff Hafley there. It is time to head out to the Toyota of Hollywood Hotline. Shop over 2,000 Toyotas on sale, one location. Toyota of Hollywood on 441 Midtown Hollywood and Sheridan, ToyotaofHollywood.com, Joe.
All right, Woody, thank you. And our man, known him for a long, long time, Pete Prisco, senior NFL columnist for CBS Sports, and he's got his mock drafts, and we got all kinds of stuff, and Brady and doing games and running ownership and going to be in the war room. Now Troy Aikman's involved, the Hall of Fame quarterback for the Cowboys with the Dolphins. We say good morning to Pete Prisco. Pete, how you doing, bud?
Cool. What's up, Joe? How are you?
I'm doing all right. What'd you think of this whole Troy Aikman thing? It's Monday Night Football, number one team, obviously, and instead of working even with Jerry Jones, he didn't want me, so I'm with the Dolphins. It's just kind of a weird one, kind of a strange one. What do you think?
It is weird. Is it a conflict of interest? You could say it is, but look, guys around the league pick the brains of people in the league more than we know. Now, whether they put them on the payroll is a whole nother issue, but the reality is information is out there. Information you can gather is to your advantage, and I think guys use other people to their advantage. And
yes,
and Troy Aikman has a lot of access. And that's the other part of it. Teams give Troy Aikman and Tom Brady access when they're doing games. Should they? And would you? Or is it a conflict of interest? So the other side of it, too, is this, Joe. I mean, isn't the NFL a little paranoid of everything? I mean, the reality is, are there really secrets out there anymore? Sure, maybe you don't know exactly who they're going for in free agency. You don't know what they're targeting. You had an idea they were going after Malik Willis. I mean, that was out there. And so I don't think there really is that many secrets out there anymore. But I also understand where people can look at it and say it's a conflict of interest.
Well, let's talk about the other story in the draft time now. Just almost, 2 weeks from tomorrow, first round of the NFL draft. And just taking a look at yours and with all your CBS buddies as well. I want to ask you about some different guys. Jordan Tyson, wide receiver out of ASU, is apparently a super talented guy, but he's injured a lot over the last 3 years. Everybody says when he's healthy, he is absolutely the best wide receiver. How do you, guys that have been banged up a lot scare me to death, Pete. Scare me to death. What about for you?
Yeah, and again, I'm being a Sun Devil, I watched all his games, and he is, I think, on paper, the best wide receiver in the draft class. But the other side of me is also like, when are you available? I mean, they were pushing for a national championship 2 years ago when they were in the playoffs, and he wasn't available. He wasn't there. Last year, he missed a ton of time. And so that to me is always concerning. So healthy, I think he's better than Tate, and I think he's better than Mekhi Lemon or anybody else in his draft class. But without availability is your most important ability. So I am concerned about that, which is probably why I would take Tate ahead of him.
Let me ask you about this guard tackle thing, because the Dolphins probably going to be interested, at least looking at it. Spencer Fano or Francis Maui Noah. Both guys are talking about can play guard and tackle, and everybody likes that flexibility. what are your thoughts on both those guys? Do you like one more over the other?
Well, I think I'm with the people out there that think both of them have more of a guard look than a tackle look. And look, could you get by playing them at tackle? Sure. But I think they both could be all-world guards. And I said that all year long with the kid from Miami. I thought he looked like a guard to me. Could you get by with him playing right tackle? Sure. Will he be a good right tackle? Probably. But I think he'd be a great guard. And so I do look at both those guys. You know, the kid from Utah has short arms, so that's always a concern when you're playing tackle. We saw that with Will Campbell. But again, I think both of them can be dominant guards and good tackles. And so you got to ask yourself, which one do you want them to, where do you want them to play? And again, if you go back in the history of recent, all-world guards, a lot of them were college tackles.
Yes.
I mean, Marshall Yanda, he was a tackle. Zach Martin. You look at guys, Kelechi Osemele when he was with the Ravens, they have a history of moving guys inside the guard. So I do think if you like them more at guard, then draft them and play them at guard. If you need them at right tackle, you could also play them there.
Pete, I want to play something for you from Jason Taylor, defensive line coach at University of Miami. I should say pass rushers, responsible especially for the two guys on the outside, Mesidor and Bain. Here's what he had to say about the combine and pro day. I want you to hear this.
I see it every day. He didn't put on for a pro day. He didn't train for a pro day. He played in the national championship, took some time off, got his body where it needed to be to go out and do what he does every day. A lot of guys train for pro days. That's why I think Bain and Mez are going to be really good in the NFL. They didn't train for a pro day. They don't train for the pageant. I hate to be a jerk, but pro days and the combine are pageants. It ain't football. You give me 2 months to train for a pageant. I'm 51 years old. I can go look good in that, excuse my French. But put the film on and drop the mic like they did. Sorry, I take it a little personal. I apologize for the cuss words. You guys can cut that out.
So some of that was Jason Taylor's own experience at the Senior Bowl because he was so light. You probably remember all that stuff. But what do you think about that? Do you think teams put too much on the combine and pro day, or do you think most of this is still done by what you see in big games?
Do they put too much on it? Absolutely. And I think it's paralysis by analysis. So that's what it ultimately ends up being. If you see guys on tape, you go dive in, you watch more tape. If you go watch more tape and you like even more, then go watch more tape. And you can see if they're good football players and can it translate to the next level. And so there's, sometimes it can be tough evaluations. If you're looking for an edge rusher and you're watching him play a tackle who's not going to, he's going to be bouncing at the local bar in a couple months, that's going to be a tough evaluation. So you try and look at him and evaluate him against good players. And when they're matched up against good players, how they do. As far as Ruben Bain and Mesidor, they're both really good football players. And Bain has been picked to shreds with the short arms and everything else. Is he twitchy enough? Look, he's not a twitchy edge rusher. That's not what he is. He's a power player. Is he going to be a 20-sack guy? Probably not. Is he going to be a 15-sack guy? I think he's going to be one of those guys where he's going to be 11, 12 all the time or in that vicinity, and he's going to be a dominant football player. Mesidor can rush from the outside, can rush from the inside. And, a lot of teams look at him and they say, boy, we can get him on third down, push him on the inside. He's going to dominate in there, which he's done some really good rushes from in there as well. I think both guys are going to be first-round picks. Both guys should be first-round picks. And, yes, Jason Taylor is 100% accurate. Watch the tape.
Yeah. So why do we have him? We spend a lot of time. I know there's other business done, to be fair. I know the combine has to do with a lot of early cheating, on getting an early jump on the business of football with everything and agents and teams. But, yeah, do you think I always wonder. I love the 40-yard dash, by the way, and I don't know how much it counts or how much it really helps offensive lineman, whether he runs a 5.3 40 or a 4.8 40, but they don't run that far that often. So I'm always surprised.
You know what, Joe? That's all becoming obsolete too, because you have the GPS monitoring. I could tell you how fast you're playing during a game.
True.
And if I can put, look at a guy on tape and we're getting into AI now, and I can put a guy on tape and say he's playing at this speed, even though he runs at that speed. Well, and the history is littered with that. Guys who didn't run fast on the clock, but ran fast on the field. And I'll give you the perfect example. Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice was not fast on the clock. And I said that to him once. You know what he said to me? He said, did you ever see anybody catch me from behind? And I said, no, because that's who he is. And so, you know that as well as anybody having
I'm
played
with
the
you,
game.
man. I'm
Game
with you.
speed is different than clock speed, and I think that's sometimes we get all caught up in that. So, look, teams are not going to the combine now. Jacksonville's group didn't go this year. The Rams don't go. And, a lot of it is because they don't want to be influenced in large part by the process when you can put the tape on and find out if a guy's a good football player or not.
All right, so the big one, I think this can be the story of the draft because everybody's all over the board. Some guys are getting ripped for having Ty Simpson too high, and some are getting ripped that he's too low and his upside, and he doesn't have enough starts and all that stuff. How do you feel about Ty Simpson?
He's going in the first round, and I think he probably should go in the first round. If you're a team out there that needs a quarterback, you got to take as many swings at it as you can until you fix it. And I know what's happening is a lot of teams are going to kind of weigh it against next year. And you look at next year, you got a chance to have a ton of good quarterbacks in that draft class. There's probably 12, 13, 14 of them right now. You're looking at saying, okay, if 6 of them end up having the kind of seasons you think they could have, you're going to have a heck of a quarterback draft next year. So I think they're balancing that against it. But if you're Pittsburgh, I think you consider them. I think if you're Cleveland, they consider them. There's going to be other teams that want to go back into the first round and maybe consider him. So I do think he's going in the first round. The amount of starts, concerning. The fact that he grew up with a coach as a father is helpful. He played injured last year. That tells you he's a tough guy. It hurt his draft stock a little bit, but he played through it. I think that's a good thing for him. He knows how to play in the pro-style system, so that's a positive for him. I do think he's going in the first round. I think he should go in the first round as much as I like next year's quarterback class. But, again, it's probably going to be later in the first round, not early in the first round.
You have the Dolphins, by the way. Jermod McCoy going 11th, cornerback out of Tennessee. Just tell me a little bit about him. There's a good chance we take a cover corner. Would not be surprised.
Yeah, you look at their room right now. I mean, a lot of guys in there, but do you really want to play with all those guys? Now Marshall's got a chance to be a good little nickel corner, but Storm Duck and Darryl Baker and Juju Brents and more. I mean, come on, they got to get a cover corner, and he's the best cover corner in the draft in my book. And look, he's coming off an ACL. 2 years ago, his tape was phenomenal. And again, you got to sit there and say, what's he going to be when he comes back from the ACL? He ran a great 40 time recently, if you that matters to you. But that tells you he's back in on competing on the field, and that's a good thing. So I think he's the best corner, and I think if you're Miami, you have to get a corner in this draft class.
Hey, Pete, I don't know if you agree with this. We were just talking after the Waddle deal trade was done for with the Dolphins. I think Denver has got the most complete team in the AFC, and I don't even think it's close. Not everybody agrees with me. What's your take on Denver and having what they have back and now adding Waddle to that group of receivers?
Yeah, I mean, getting Waddle is big for them because he gives them, a guy who can run all the routes and can do so many different things. I thought they were, their passing game was just okay. Some of that's because Bo Nix is still growing as a quarterback, but Sutton doesn't run that well. Getting Waddle in the middle of the field will help them. I don't know if they're the most complete team. I think they're one of them. I think there's a lot of really good teams in the AFC. I mean, the AFC has some good, but Buffalo's going to be good again. I'm not so sure about New England. I mean, they won a lot of close games last year. I think Jacksonville's going to be good. I think Houston's going to be good. I mean, there's a lot of good teams that in their own division. Heck, the Chargers with Mike McDaniel's going to be great for that run game. I mean, he really is.
He will be. I agree.
Yeah.
I think he could be a really good offensive coordinator. Yeah. I don't know if you think he ever gets a head coaching job again?
You never say never in this league. I mean, you see it.
He's been getting bashed for everything that's coming out now. My God, man, guys taking shots at the playground.
So come on, I've been. I'm not going to sit here and say I didn't.
I know. No, you were the originator. Hell, you had people upset that were sitting with us. I go, Pete, you got to calm down a little bit, brother. You go, calm down. What is this practice? I know. Remember.
I mean, I was right about all that stuff. Look, the bottom line is, this. You've been around the game for a long, long time, and you played for the most.
The hardest ass there was in the NFL. Yeah.
Okay, you might not need to be that anymore, but you need to be a lot closer to that than Mike McDaniel was. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's got to be discipline there. So, but he will be a really good offensive coordinator for them. And what happens if the Chargers get to the Super Bowl and all of a sudden now look at that offense and Mike McDaniel will be a hot guy again? You know how this league is. Right. They come back around all the time.
That's true. That's fair. Hey, Pete, as always, man, really appreciate it.
Hey, Joe, I got one thing I got to ask you, okay?
Yeah.
I'm watching TV the other day, and there's commercials on 42 times, you and Aron Degas, okay? It's on all the time.
Yeah.
You read his line while you're waiting to do your line.
Yeah, but that's what we were doing for the commercial. Yeah.
Like,
Everybody's noticed that.
I'm like, Joe, what are you doing? We're not that old, Joe. You can remember when it's time to go, can't you?
No, I could not. No. That's when, you know what? Everybody's now noticed because that commercial runs like every 2 minutes. So all day long on every station.
You say Aronde's line and your line. I mean, it's amazing.
And I didn't get paid as much as he did. So that was the whole deal. But
and by the way, he caught his last touchdown pass and you caught his first. And I'm going to give you a compliment here because I think you look younger than he does.
Well, he caught that one against Jacksonville. I don't know if he wants to be involved with that last one. That last one we lost by 60 in that game.
62-7.
Yeah,
62-7.
At least the one I lost, the first one we didn't lose. That was a little closer Monday Night Football game.
Yeah.
Hey, Pete, thank you, brother. Always appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
You got it, Joe.
All right, Pete Prisco, senior NFL columnist for CBS Sports. I got to tell you, man, about your South Florida